Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting for the Pekin Community High School Board of Education. If you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll begin this evening with a public hearing on the tentative 2016-2017 district budget. At this time, we'll be looking for any public participation or questions regarding the tentative district budget. Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing on the tentative budget. Next item of business will be call order. Mr. White.
Allison Greeny.
Here.
Vera.
Here.
Boheimer.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Huey.
Present.
Wrigley.
Here.
Hill.
Here. The entire board is in attendance, and we will move on with our approval of minutes. Those minutes being the Student Achievement Committee meeting of April 21st, the regular board meeting of August 22nd, and the closed session of that regular board meeting on August 22nd. Do I have a motion? Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Huey. Questions, comments? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Boheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Allison Greeny.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Now on to communication, public comments, and participation, starting with board applause. And we'll start down with you, Mr. Vera.
Okay. Board applause tonight. I'd like to congratulate the boys varsity golf team for winning the Canton Invitational last Saturday. An impressive 8-under total score of 297.
Thank you, Mr. Vera. Mr. Allison Greeny.
I had the same one, so.
Ditto, congratulations to the golf team. Mr. Wrigley.
I want to give my board applause this evening towards several area businesses in Pekin that are working with our Life Skills School to Work. Is that the initiative, I believe? I was trying to pull up the email here in front of me so I had my reference, but several area businesses that are working with our life skills students to provide them with some work opportunities. So congratulations, or excuse me, appreciative to them. So.
Thank you, Mr. Wrigley. Continuing on around to you, Mrs. Hoheimer.
I'm looking forward to the parade.
Mr. Huey.
I have none this evening.
Mr. Howard.
At our O&M meeting tonight, we talked about various projects that took place over the summer. And if you just look around the campus, you'll see the new softball field, and there's all kinds of other things that took place. And so that said, I want to commend our buildings and ground people and all those people who worked in the summer to make everything happen, because I don't know how they do it every year. To me, it's like trying to put air in your tire while you're driving down the highway. You don't ever get to stop and do what you're supposed to do, and yet they do it all simultaneously, and I think they're to be commended for it.
Thank you, Mr. Howard, and I would like to echo your sentiments. But moving on with our student council report, Amanda, I think you've got a busy week this week.
So before we talk about that, we had blackout this past couple weeks, and we had the assembly on the day of the game, which was September 9th, and the kiddos spoke, and that went really well, and the rain came, and there was no rain. It wasn't rescheduled, which was awesome, and we raised over $12,000 for Easter Seals, which was very, very good. And now that it's homecoming week, we have the committees, which are our first committees this year, and it's split into the parade and spirit week, the class games, and the dance. So with parade week, or like parade and the spirit week, we have the spirit week days, which are this week. Today was American Day. I don't know if you guys knew that. We just red, white, and blue. And there's booths at lunch, and they made the parade lineup for this weekend. For class games, we had Powder Puff signups, and we have our teams. So if you're not doing anything on Thursday, come watch us. I'm going to be playing football, which is not normal. And then we have class games during that, so We'll have freshmen, sophomore, junior, seniors all play. Then the dance is Saturday, and we're setting up for that and just getting ready for it. That's all.
Amanda, may I ask you a question?
Yes.
Are you a speaking dragon?
No, I'm not.
Well, I sure would have thought you were. You do an extraordinarily good job of delivering
Thank you.
your speech. I thought I would have bet money you were.
Really? Well, thank you.
You do very well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. At this time, if there's anyone that wishes to address the board about a non-agenda item, now is your time. You will be allowed 5 minutes to make your presentation, and then board members may or may not have questions for you at the conclusion of your presentation. I will tell you it's not typical that board members will typically respond in this forum, but we will take your comments, and then either board members or administration will reach back out to you and address you. So at this time, I invite anyone to step forward. Please give me your name, and as soon as you begin, I'll start the timer.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I'm Norma Jacobs.
Hello.
Hi, how are you? Tonight I wanted to address the board this evening as a resident of Pekin and as a grandparent of a student here at PCHS. And my concern that I'm bringing to you has to do with the transgender policy currently taking place at the high school. I have a 16-year-old granddaughter who has PE the same time as the transgender student. The student, although born male and identifies as a female, this student is being allowed to change clothes in the female locker room with the girls. I find that very disturbing. This is where I take issue with the situation. With all your summer construction that you were talking about that took place at high school, unisex bathrooms were built to accommodate, not discriminate, the transgender students. Instead, my granddaughter, who is a female and identifies as a female, has been told that if she's uncomfortable with it, she can go downstairs to the locker room or change in the unisex bathroom. I'm really not satisfied with that option. The established system of putting genders on birth certificates has been used to separate and protect the sexes for reasons of privacy in such instances as changing clothes, even here at PE. The transgender student who is still physically a male should have the option to change his clothes in the boys' locker room, or if the student is uncomfortable, change clothes in the unisex bathroom. My granddaughter, and even I have a new future great-granddaughter on the horizon, I'm excited, and all the female students, female-born students, are being discriminated against and have had their privacy rights violated by this policy. Even though you have found a solution for one student, it has created a problem for many other students. And I just don't find that fair at all. I ask you this evening to reconsider or change this policy. I believe this policy is to be a misguided attempt to avoid discrimination, but instead compromises the protection, safety, and the safety and privacy of a larger mass of students. I thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Any questions? Understood?
Thank you very much. At this time, is there anyone else that wishes to address the board about a non-agenda item? Hearing none, we're going to move on with the approval of claims.
Mr. President, I move for the payment of the monthly warrants in the amount of $2,907,658.46 per summary information found on page 56 and detailed information board bills beginning on page 86 and manual checks beginning on 138 of the supported material.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alessandrini, second by Mr. Howard. Any board members have any questions or comments? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Boheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Ridley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Monthly warrants are approved. Next item of business is request for closed session regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, student discipline cases, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the finding shall be recorded and entered into minutes of the closed meeting. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So move.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard.
Aye.
Boheimer.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Ridley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. We're in closed session and we will return shortly. We'll come back into regular session and we'll start with our consent agenda item. Before we begin, is there any items that a board member would wish to remove from the consent agenda? Hearing none, I would be seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda. Item 6, motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any questions or comments? Dr. Owens, in regard to the donation from the estate of William Long, do you have some information about that?
Just a little bit of information. Mr. White helped me get some information from the attorneys that represented his estate. He actually graduated from Pekin High in 1937 and worked as a metal worker, and had no children, and left a ninth of his estate to Pekin High, and left the other pieces to different organizations in the community that he apparently had a fondness for, but really not any other strong connections. We keep obviously a copy of the yearbook from every year, so there's a yearbook picture from 1937, so if we want to pass that. Pretty exciting. So thought process maybe for right now, obviously have deposited that money, but with the renovation of the library, we may choose to put that money towards that project. So
Generous, yeah.
very
That's wonderful.
That's my heart when I read
Yeah,
that. I just
yeah.
thought, how special.
And no one really to thank. Wife has already passed away and no family, so I mean we'll send a letter to the estate, but
Was he still living here in the community?
I believe so, yes.
It reinforces what PCHS graduates truly think about their school. It really does. And we still get this same sympathy shown in different ways yet today. You know, everybody likes to bang on the place and pick on the place, but when you get right down to it, pretty good place.
It's a good place, that's right.
To make a matter of record, we want to thank William Long for his donation, along with the Marigold Festival Committee for the donation of paint and face painting supplies to the PCHS art program, the Joel Steger and family for the donation of stained glass and miscellaneous art supplies to the PCHS art program, and also to the family of Stanley Zimmerman for the donation of $400 to the PCHS basketball boosters and $685 to the PCHS Booster Club in general. So thank you to all four of those organizations and families for their donations. Any other questions on the consent agenda? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda item is approved. Next item of business, 6.3, is student discipline. Do we have any motions?
Mr. President, I would make the motion that student identified as 16-01-17 be expelled for the remainder of the 16 and 17 school year, eligible to return in the fall of 2017 for reasons of gross misconduct.
Motion by Mr. Howard. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wrigley. Any questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Student identified as 16-01-17 is expelled for the remainder of the 16-17 school year.
Mr. President, I would make the motion that student identified as 16-02-17 be expelled for the remainder of the 2016-2017 school year, eligible to return in the fall of 2017 for reasons of gross misconduct.
We have a motion to expel student identified as 16-02-17 for the remainder of the 16-17 school year, eligible to return for the 2017 school year for gross misconduct. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Alessandrini. Any comments or questions? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries, and student 16-02-17 has been expelled.
Mr. President, I would make a motion that student identified as 16-03-17 be expelled for the remainder of the 2016-2017 school year, eligible to return in the fall of 2017 and for reasons of gross misconduct.
We've heard the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wrigley. Any questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Student identified as 16-03-17 is expelled for the remainder of the 2016-2017 school year. Next item of business is the Illinois High School District Organization dues for the 2016-2017 school year. Dr. Owens.
So we have belonged to this organization for several years, and each year our rate is based on our enrollment. We actually, I have a meeting or a conference for IASA later this week, and being part of this organization, there's a separate meeting where we will meet with our lobbyist who is down in Springfield and kind of keeping a pulse on everything. So we'll have a meeting of this organization actually this coming Thursday. So it definitely benefits, I think, the high school districts in the state to have an organization of like and similar districts to ourselves. So it would be my recommendation for board approval to pay our Illinois High School District Organization dues for the 16-17 school year in the amount of $920.40 as presented.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Howard. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wrigley. Any questions or comments? Just wondering if we get any royalties since you're on the cover of the magazine. So are you collecting the royalties, or does the district get those
I
royalties?
think I've heard the checks in the mail.
That sounds right.
They should take off the dues, right?
Yeah. Well, congratulations. Your
Well,
picture
thanks.
looks very good on there. I'm sure that's going to sell every district on the membership.
I opened it up to start filling it out. I'm like, oh my God. I know that girl. We were like, look at
Maybe
that.
they get a signed release from you?
No.
It's part of your dues every year.
That's right.
You're releasing your name
Yeah.
and face to be used. So, any other questions about the organization dues? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business is the 2016-2017 application for recognition of public schools. Dr. Owens.
So this is actually due on September 30th, so we come to you tonight recommending board approval to be able to submit this application. One thing that has changed on the application is we were able to check the box for daily PE. So we will see how that changes our recognition status, but that is obviously a very big deal for us and what we've dealt with in the past. But I'm coming to you tonight to recommend board approval to submit the 16-17 application for the recognition of public schools as presented.
So moved.
Second.
You heard the recommendation from the administration and then a motion by Mr. Howard and a second by Mr. Alessandrini. Do any board members have any questions? Excited to hopefully go from a pending state to a
Recognition.
in compliance. Okay, recognition.
Yes.
So long road coming. I think that's been three or 4 years now. So
A lot of change.
a lot of good change. Any other questions?
Somehow I thought there'd be fireworks or something.
That's once we get the letter back.
Oh, okay, okay, then we'll have some.
Any other questions? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Ridley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Moving right along, we'll move into potential 2016-2017 chaperones and volunteers for the PCHS band program. Dr. Owens.
So on page 219, there is a list of potential chaperones and volunteers. We do ask all of our music programs to submit their lists so that we can get them board approved, and those who need so can get background checks. We do ask, obviously, that chaperones be at least 21 years of age and get a background check. So we come before you for those possible recommendations of Pekin High Band program chaperones and volunteers as presented, pending background checks as necessary. And we obviously only require the background checks if we know there's a potential chaperones or that they're going to be with students, without the presence of another supervisor. So.
Motion for approval.
Motion by Mr. Alessandrini,
Second.
second by Mr. Wrigley. Any questions or comments? The chaperones, are they if we choose they do need a background check, are they responsible for those payments, or do we pay for those?
We actually pay for those.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Ridley.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries, and thank you to our chaperones and volunteers. Next item of business, resolution authorizing the partial abatement of PCHS working cash fund. Mrs. Schaefer.
As we discussed last month during the budget presentation, I had indicated that this month we would bring before you the resolution to abate the interest that is accumulated in the working cash fund. So on page 220 of your materials, you will see that actual resolution. The working cash fund has a balance of $4,499,217. And the working cash fund has accumulated interest in the amount of $425,335 from 2008 to 2016. So the recommendation would be board adoption of the resolution authorizing the partial abatement of the working cash fund of Pekin Community High School District Number 303 in the amount of $425,335 and the transfer of said amount to the district's education fund as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Holheimer. Board members have any comments or questions about the partial abatement? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Ridley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. 6.8, renewal of the district's contract with Humana for a Humana Medicare employer plan. Mrs. Schaefer.
So it's that time of year where we renew the Humana plan, and this plan covers retirees that are over 65 years of age that Pekin High School sponsors as a group plan. It is a calendar year plan, and essentially this plan represents a Medicare Advantage product that combines the retiree's Medicare Part A and Part B coverage with Medicare supplemental coverage, including prescriptions, into one product. We've had this now for several years. The premium this year has increased. Last year's premium was $279.68 per member per month. This year it's $294.12 per member per month. In the past, the district picked up 75% of that cost and the retiree picked up 25% of that cost. 80%, and the member picked up 20%. In order for the district to continue to pay the same amount, we would like to shift that to 75%, 25%. So last year, the district paid $223.74 per member, and the retiree paid $55.94 per month. With the new renewal, it will be the district paying $220.59 per month and the retiree paying $73.53 per month. So it's about a $17.59 increase. So we would recommend board approval to renew the district's contract with Humana for a Medicare Advantage product for retirees 65 or over for a plan year beginning January 1, ending December 31st, 2017 at a fixed rate of $294.12 per member per month as presented.
Let's make that a motion.
Motion by Mr. Howard. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wrigley. Comments or questions?
Did any of the benefits change, or is it
They do not.
the same? Is it the same plan?
Correct.
Any other questions?
How many retirees are on this?
Approximately 75.
Any others? All right, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye.
Hillheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Present.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. And we can renew our contract with Humana. Next item of business will be administrator and teacher salary and benefits report for 2015-2016. Mrs. Schaefer, you're up again.
As has been customary since 2012, when the school code changed, we are required to report administrator and teacher salaries and benefits to the Illinois Board of Education by October 1st of every year. It's also posted on our website. So in the attachment is the report for the 15-16 school year, which is actually generated from the employee information system that we use via ISB. So the recommendation would be board approval of Pekin Community High School District 303's administrator and teacher salary and benefits report for the 2015-2016 school year as presented.
You heard the recommendation from the administration. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So move. Second.
Motion by Mr. Huey, second by Mr. Allison Greenie. Questions or comments? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Huey,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye.
Hillheimer,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. Next item of business is the tentative 2016-2017 district budget. Mrs. Schaefer.
You should have a new a sheet that was laid in front of you tonight that shows what the cash looks like now at the end of September. Once the month is changed, you will see overall the budget has only fluctuated within $7,000 of when we presented it in August. So I really don't have a lot more to report on the budget unless there's additional questions that you've thought of or have. Otherwise, I would recommend that the board approve the tentative 2016-2017 district budget as presented.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Howard,
Second.
second by Mr. Wrigley. Questions or comments about the tentative 2016 district budget?
I would ask, sorry, to just remember to sign it before we leave.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say that.
We will all be sure to sign it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Greenie,
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye.
Hillheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Tentative budget is approved. Moving on to reports, resignations. Mr. Wrigley.
Yes, there were pull up my report. 3 resignations to make a matter of record. Clint Gossmeyer, assistant coach for the boys tennis program, effective 8th September. John Mason, teacher for the English department, effective 24th of August. And Justin Yang, assistant coach for the girls track program, effective 7 September, all of 2016.
Thank you, Mr. Wrigley. Let's roll down into Policy Committee.
Policy committee did not meet this evening.
All right. Mr. Alessandrini, Operation and Maintenance.
Operations and Maintenance Committee did meet this evening. We reviewed past work. We're still attempting to complete the pillar entrance retaining wall from the 2015-2016 school year. Items that were completed over the summer, the domestic sewer piping project in the A building HVAC and the softball field have a few minor items that need to be completed before they can actually go on the completed list. We started talking a little bit about the 2017-2018 projects, and as we get some of the older projects off the list, we'll start to add some new ones. One piece of good news when we talk about the Building A HVAC project, you go back several years ago when we put together the bond package. We used an estimate in that package of $5.2 million. Then another year later, we got a new estimate, and that was about $4.4 million. The bids came in at $3.6 million, and we looked to finish that project at $3.2 million. So from our original estimate, we're down $2 million. So we'll be able to use those funds in other health, life safety projects as we move forward. So that's some really good news on the financing side.
Thank you, Mr. Alessandrini. Next item of business, LMRC, Dr. Owens.
We did not meet.
All right, let's swing down to Student Achievement Committee.
We did meet last week, which was exciting. It was our first Student Achievement Committee meeting of the year. Our goal being out of that committee to focus on a vision and a mission, and move into second semester creating a marketing plan for Pekin High to kind of rebrand itself. So we were excited to do that. The committee had a good discussion about what's happening internally and externally in terms of factors that we need to kind of keep in the back of our minds as we move forward. So we started internally. It was interesting. We talked internally about all the things that's going on in Pekin High. It was a really positive conversation. And then we turned around to what's happening externally, and it turned to a pretty negative conversation. So I guess it's better than vice versa, but we had a great discussion. We'll continue those discussions moving forward, and I think people are excited about that process. I've actually been asked by the Bill Fleming, who's the head of the Chamber of Commerce of Pekin, if he could attend those student achievement meetings. He's excited about the fact that we are potentially rebranding and marketing ourselves, and has kind of weaved that into a chamber goal as well. So he may start to attend some of our meetings as well. So that's great, because we like to have community involvement. So that was exciting.
Yeah, I will say I was in Mr. Fleming's office, and he was very excited to be talking about and getting the invite to come and work with Student Achievement Committee. He said, "What am I going to expect?" I said, "Well, that'll be fine. You'll do great." But he was really excited to come, and that is a major initiative that he has at the chamber, he said. So it's good to see their involvement, and hopefully we'll see good things come from him as well. Moving on to FOIA requests.
To report, I have nothing to report. Although I think there's one sitting on my inbox from today, so I'll let you know next month.
And 6-day enrollment.
You can see on page 229 our enrollment. We do obviously a 6-day count every year. Our enrollment, I don't know if you want to say fortunately or unfortunately, is down. Our total enrollment's 1926. That's the lowest it's been for a lot of years. I think we ended the last year right around 1970 something, 1965, something like that. So we are down. We honestly had a lot of transfers in, but at the same time, we had more transfer outs than we had transfer ins. So obviously this number fluctuates, and we do a 6-day count at the beginning of second semester as well, but that's our enrollment for right now.
Thank you very much. Next item will be future agenda items. Are there any agenda items that a board member wishes to see on a future agenda? All right, let's move into some announcements. Bear with me, there's a few of them. First off, I want to congratulate Joe Alessandrini, Karen Hoheimer, and Larry Howard on maintaining their master board member status. They were just awarded that at the CIVD dinner fall meeting this past Thursday at East Peoria. I apologize I couldn't be there. I was stuck in an airport. But congratulations for you three on maintaining that master board member status. Next up is Homecoming Week, which is this week. Around the world is going to be their theme. Spirit Week is all this week. Powder Puff Games will be Thursday, September 29th. Class games will also be on Thursday, and both of those will take place in the Custard Stout Gym. The parade will be starting at James Field, starting at 5:30. Board members should have been invited by now to attend and be in the parade. And the football game will be against Morton, Friday, September 30th, following the homecoming parade at 7:30 is the varsity game, and at 5 p.m. is the freshman game. And finally, the dance will be Saturday, October 1st, from 7 p.m. till 10 p.m. And finally, the next regular Board of Education is scheduled for Monday, October 24th. So that's all that I have. On the regular agenda, we are going to go into closed session, but there will be no further agenda items after the closed session. So at this time, I would be looking for a motion to enter into closed session regarding a request for the closed session regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Wrigley. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye, motion carries. And for all intents and purposes, there will be no further action items, so we will be adjourned immediately following the closed session.